Hello children, today let us learn the second part of the English lesson, A Hero, written by R.K. Narayan. Children, let us read the 10th paragraph of this lesson. Swami felt cut off from humanity. He was pained and angry. He did not like the strain of cruelty he saw in his father's nature. He hated the newspaper for printing the tiger's story. He wished that the tiger had not spared the boy, who did not appear to be a boy after all, but a monster. Here, the meaning of spare is not to harm someone. This paragraph says us, Swami was scared and hurt at being left alone. He hated the paper for printing the story and was angry with the boy who was brave enough to face the tiger. He felt that if the tiger had not spared the boy, he would not have been in the office room sleeping alone. 11th para. As the night advanced and the silence in the house deepened, his heart beat faster. He remembered all the stories of devils and ghosts he had heard in his life. How often his chum Mani had seen the devil in the banyan tree at his street end. And what about poor Muniswami's father, who spat out blood because the devil near the river's edge slapped on his cheek when he was returning home late one night? So here, chum means a good friend. Informally, we can say, especially among children, the friends of one another, children among the children, we call it chum. This paragraph says us, as the night advanced and the silence deepened, he remembered some of the scary stories of the devils and ghosts he had heard. All types of sounds were clearly heard by him. Every moment he thought that he would be carried away by the devils. And so on and on his thoughts continued. He was faint with fear. A ray of light from the street lamp strayed in and cast shadows on the wall. Through the stillness, all kinds of noises reached his ears, the ticking of the clock, a rustle of trees, snoring sounds, and some vague night insects humming. He covered himself so completely that he could hardly breathe. Every moment he expected the devils to come up to carry him away. There was the instance of his old friend in the fourth class, who suddenly disappeared and was said to have been carried off by a ghost to Siam or Nepal. So same thing, he was worried about the ghost, devil. He was getting non-stop sounds of animals, trees, clock, other things, insects. So he was worried. Swami hurriedly got up and spread his bed under the bench and crouched there. It seemed to be a much safer place, more compact and reassuring. He shut his eyes tight and encased himself in his blanket once again, and unknown to himself fell asleep, and in sleep was racked with nightmares. Here encased means covered himself closely. Crouch, lower the body close to the ground. Reassuring means to make someone feel calmer or less frightened. Rack means make someone suffer great mental pain. Nightmare, a frightening dream. Here in the paragraph, he got up and spread his bed under the bench and crouched there closely slept. Shut his, he shut his eyes tightly and after some time fell asleep. He was having or terrorized by nightmares and dreams in which he was chased by many tigers. A tiger was chasing him, his feet stuck to the ground. He desperately tried to escape, but his feet would not move. The tiger was at his back, and he could hear its claws scratch the ground. Scratch, scratch, and then a loud thud. Swami tried to open his eyes, but his eyelids would not open, and the nightmare continued. It threatened to continue forever. Swami groaned in despair. Desperately means do something with no hope. Swami was full of fear and he had a nightmare, frightening dream about a tiger and it was continuously scratching the ground with a loud thud noise. And Swami was not able to open his eyes, but he was frightened in his dream. And the 13th paragraph, with a desperate effort, he opened his eyes. He put his hand out to feel his granny's presence at his side, as was his habit, but the only touched the wooden leg of the bench, and his lonely state came back to him. He sweated with fright. And now, what was this rustling? He moved to the edge of the bench and started into the darkness. Something was moving down. He lay gazing at it in horror. His end had come. He realized that the devil would presently pull him out and tear him. And so why should he wait? As it came nearer, he crawled out from under the bench, hugged it with all his might, and used his teeth on it like a mortal weapon. Here, mortal weapon means deadly weapon. He used his teeth as a deadly weapon. This paragraph says us, he opened his eyes and touched the wooden leg of the bench, thinking that it was his granny. At that time he saw something moving in the dark. Terror gripped Swami. He thought his end had come. In his fear to save himself, he hugged the moving thing and began to bite it with all his strength. Ayu, something has bitten me, went forth an organized thundering cry, and was followed by a heavy and falling amidst furniture. In a moment, father, cook, and a servant came in, carrying light, and all three of them fell on the who lay amidst the furniture with a bleeding ankle. Here, burglar means a person who enters a building in order to steal. Housebreaker or a thief, we can say. Tumbling, falling helplessly, tumbling and falling. Clutched, held tightly, holding tightly. So this para says us, actually the moving thing was a burglar and he thought the thing was a burglar and he thought that some creature was biting him and he began to scream at the top of his voice. Everyone in the house, his father, the cook, and a servant, were woke up and they came running to the office room, and all three of them joined together and caught the burglar. 15th para. Congratulations were showered on Swami next day. His classmates looked at him with respect, and his teacher patted his back. The headmaster said that he was a true scout. Swami had bitten into the flesh of one of the most notorious housebreakers of the district, and the police were grateful to him for it. So here the meaning of scout, one who is trained in doing acts of public service. Notorious means evil-minded. So this para says us the next morning news had spread not only to all his neighborhood and his school, but also the whole town of Malgudi, Swami had become a celebrated hero and everyone congratulated him for his bravery and helping to nab a notorious burglar searched by the police for many years. His classmates looked at him with respect. All the teachers and his headmaster were proud of him. And the 16th para, the inspector said, "Why don't you join the police when you are grown up?" Swami said, "For the sake of politeness." Certainly, yes, though he had quite made up his mind to be an engine driver, a railway guard, or a bus conductor later in life. Here in this para, when the inspector asked Swami to become a police, so he said politely, "Yes, sir." But he thought in his mind that to become a engine driver, a railway guard, or a bus conductor later in his life. 17th para. When he returned home from the club that night, father asked, "Where is the boy? He is asleep already." "He did not have a wink of sleep the whole of last night," said his mother. "Where is he sleeping?" "In his usual place," mother said casually. "He went to bed at 7:30. Sleeping beside his granny again," father said. "You wonder he wanted to be asleep before I could return home. Clever boy." So here, not have a wink of sleep means couldn't sleep. This para says us that night his proud father went in search of Swami to give him his love, but the little boy was already pretending to be asleep in his bed in the passage, afraid that his father will ask him to sleep in the office room again. So father says, "He is a clever boy. No wonder he wanted to be asleep before I could return." Mother lost her temper. "You let him sleep where he likes. You need not risk his life again," father mumbled as he went in to change. "All right," Molly cuddled, "and spoiling as much as you like. Only don't blame me afterwards." Swami, following the whole conversation from under the blanket, felt tremendously relieved to hear that his father was giving him up. So here, molly coddled means treat someone very kindly and protect the person too much from anything unpleasant. So here, he wanted to give his love to Swami and protect him from every danger. And this para says us that Swami overheard his mother and father talking. So his mother begged his father not to make him sleep in the office room again. His father mumbled that if Swami was spoiled, he was not to be blamed. Swami, who heard this from under the blanket, felt relieved that his father was giving up at last and went into deep sleep. Children, I hope you understood the whole content of the lesson. Thank you.